Alright, number 5, decide what shape or shapes the description could be. So if I have a figure and it has 4 right angles and 4 congruent sides, what shape would that be? So if I draw the shape, and it has to have the 4 right angles and 4 congruent sides. So what shape has 4 right angles and 4 congruent sides? That would be a square. So now if you look at B, you notice it just says 4 right angles, and so it doesn't say anything about the sides. So now if I have a shape and I know nothing about the sides, but I know that the angles have to be right, what shape would this be? So this would be a rectangle. So now C, 2 pairs of opposite parallel sides. So I'm going to have 2 sides are 2 pairs of opposite parallel sides. So the opposite sides have to be parallel. I don't know anything about the side lengths. I don't know anything about the angles. So if the shape has, the only thing I know is that the opposite sides are parallel. This is a parallelogram. Alright, now for D, a shape with 4 congruent sides. So if it has 4 congruent sides, and that's all I know is that the sides are congruent, I don't know what these angles are. I mean, it could be 90, but it could be 89.4. So since I don't know, and all I know is it has 4 congruent sides, this is a rhombus. All right, E, 2 pairs of opposite congruent angles. So if the opposite angles are congruent, we know this shape is a parallelogram. And if this is only information I have, I don't know if these angles are right, so I don't know if it's a rectangle or a square. Only information I know is that the opposite angles are congruent. So if I knew the opposite angles were 90, then I would know it's a rectangle. If I knew that the opposite angles were 90 and the sides were all the same, then I know it's a square. So with this information, the only thing I can say is that this is a parallelogram. F, the diagonals bisect opposite angles. So for this, if I draw in my diagonals, I want to have these angles bisected. And this isn't the best one to try to draw on this, but so the only time that this is going to happen is if I have a rhombus. And again, since this is the only information I have, this is the only answer I can give. This is also true if I had a square, but I would need more information to think it's a square. So if the diagonals bisect the opposite angles, that shape is a rhombus. All right, let's take a look at number 6. So given parallelogram, so this symbol right here means parallelogram. ANGL, complete each of the congruent statements given. So EN, so this segment here, EN, is going to be congruent to. So one of the things we know about all parallelograms is that their diagonals are they bisect each other. So we know that EN would have to be congruent to segment EL. Okay, now let's take a look at AL. So AL is here, and one of the properties that we've talked about is that the opposite sides of a parallelogram have to be congruent. So AL would have to be congruent to a segment NG. And now we have angle ANG. Angle ANG. So ANG would have to be congruent to, and we learn that the opposite angles of a parallelogram are congruent. So that would have to be ALG. And the last one, angle LNA. LNA. So we're talking about angle LNA, so this angle right here. Well, the diagonals create alternate interior angles, so we are talking about this angle here, and so that would be NLG. So angle NLG.